Okay, this is going to be the video breaking down why I am bullish on XOM and talking about the technicals and or macro environment as well. So just an XOM thesis video, hopefully not too long, but going to go ahead and break it down now. So XOM, why I'm bullish and where I'm at. I'm going to be doing both short term and long term. I guess let's start with the absolute long term. This is going to be the quarterly candle time frame here on XOM. A few things to point out. I mean, we see the buy spike all the way back in 2008, right? XOM used to be a market leader all the way up until, around this time. It's been consolidating here in this range between, I don't know, 95 and 50 for, I mean, obviously since 2008, right? It's been about, I don't know, I'm not even going to say the days. That's ridiculous. 10 years plus, 2008 to 2028. It's almost 20 years. I mean, in an 18-year range here on XOM on a former market leader, right? And it's just been kind of sleeping since. So, former market giants, market leader, XOM. Now, here's where the current schematic is at, right? We saw a flush back below previous support back in 08. In 2010, you see price make it all the way to the top of the range, and we've been consolidating here for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2 years, about 2.5 years, we've been consolidating at the top of this range right here. Really retesting this to ensure that a markup is ready. So we're retesting in the Wyckoff terms, it's the BUEC, so back up to the edge of the creek. And it's retesting the previous ranges highs to ensure that price is ready for that markup phase and that there's not an excess of sellers going on in here. And if there was, the test would fail and price would re-enter the range and likely hit this low, or the lower extreme of the range that it created. So long term, XOM looks ready for a breakout and markup phase. Now, obviously, that's not just dependent on XOM. That's very much dependent on energy and crude oil, overall. So I'm going to go ahead and show the crude oil chart right now. But that's just the background on XOM. I mean, this thing has been, just in inflation adjusted overall. I mean, this thing's been trading within the same $50 range. It's trading at $50 back in 2000, or it's trading at the same $100 it was trading at, in 2008. And that's not even to mention any inflation adjusted metrics, like, right, how much has inflation peaked since then. I'd love to do like a little, recalculation of how much that's shifted. Not to mention like the stock has been performing well. I mean, it's a great company. They have a significant balance sheet. Obviously, given the industry, their gross profit's not the highest. It's crude oil. I mean, it's not like a tech with like a SaaS software that's, operating at a 60% gross margin, right? It's crude. So, balance sheet is, really strong. Total assets, greatly above your total liabilities. Again, not to mention like inflation overall. I mean, it's trading at the same $100 as it was trading in 2008. That's absurd, right? Think about how much inflation we've had in, the last 18 years, but also think about, they've been increasingly buying back their shares. I mean, this has been an ever growing figure. I only have the last 5 years on this free subscription to stock analysis, but I'm sure if you go back to their balance sheet in 2000, even 15, I'm sure their treasury stock has been, ever increasing since then. So I might throw that in here in the last few minutes, just because I'm curious to see what their treasury stock was sitting at their balance sheet, in 2015. So, stock buybacks, that's decreasing supply of the common stock. You got inflation each year. We're trading at the same, the same price that we were trading at in 08, yet XOM's balance sheet and income statement just keeps getting better. I mean, income statement's pretty, the same. It's not a high growth name. The revenue growth is certainly there. Net income is solid, but it's a mature company, right? It's not a growth name. So, yeah, I mean, balance sheet, the retained earnings is massive. It's been going up. Really like the treasury stock again. So, really like it from a long-term perspective. Let's go look at crude really quickly. Obviously, if XOM is going to perform well, you obviously need crude to perform well as well. So if we look at crude oil, like light crude oil futures, I fail to believe that this ADR breaker, right, this average day range breaker right here, this weekly candle, I fail to believe that this is some, like, the end of the move. It's very hard for me picture that this is the end of the move. And in my opinion, this is the beginning of the move, right? This is just like XOM. You're going to see that the ADR for crude has just taken off in the last 2 weeks, right? Price popped above the EMAs there, and then had these two pretty crazy weekly candles. So, are we at like the top of the trend on crude, and is crude going to fail? No, I think it's actually the very opposite. I think crude is in the very early stages of some kind of markup phase, and I think I could say the exact same thing on XLE. Like if we took a look at the monthly chart on XLE, it's kind of going to look a lot the same as XOM, right? It's been kind of consolidating here for what feels like forever, and that's probably why a lot of people are still sleeping on XOM, just because it's felt like a sleeping giant. But is this something that's, you know, close to the top of its range? In my opinion, no. I mean, we just had what, you know, since June 22, we've been dancing around the top of this range, and we finally broken out. So that's what I'm anticipating on XLE and crude, is the breakout of, you know, oil. And I think that ties into, you know, supply chain issues, price of oil going up, crude's going up. That's usually, it's almost interesting to see that like crude, let's see, when it actually started to run was on March 3rd. March 3rd, it had its first like big gap up and a big average day range breaker. Like if we go look at XOM, it's somewhat tied to that as well. Like I guess January, where's March? It's almost been running ahead of it, actually, if you look at it. I mean, XOM ran what, like 20% prior to crude taking off, right? We just looked at crude, and the first big pop on crude was this day right here. So it's interesting that XOM is a little ahead of it right now, which I really don't hate. I wouldn't want it to front run a crude move in general, but I don't hate that it's a little ahead, and I am fairly bullish on crude going forward. And I think it's very early stage bull cycle here. So I think that is obviously going to benefit XOM and XLE and oil prices in general. So maybe to talk about XOM here really quickly, like itself, this is a characteristic really only seen in the absolute strongest of names, right? Price. What I'm talking about here is this linearity. This is really only what you see in the absolute strongest of names, or names that have a you know, large markup in price coming, you know, i.e. Tesla, i.e. SanDisk, i.e. SMCI in 2024, i.e. silver just now in early 26. So a lot of the names show this linear characteristic, right? This ability of price to basically just go 32.5% without even ever sniffing the 10 EMA right here. Like it looks like it's almost extended, but in my opinion, this is just, if you look at the average daily range over the last, I don't know, 3 to 4 years, it's hovering around like 2 points, and it's doubled in the last, you know, week, and price went up 32.5% with really no resistance if you look at it. I mean, where's the selling strength in here? All of these sell candles are on low volume and small spreads. There's really no selling strength. In my opinion, this was a massive show of strength for the bulls. You know, to go 32.5% in a matter of, oops, wrong one, in a matter of about 30 days. I mean, that's incredible strength. And then what we've seen since is price consolidating in about, you know, an 8% range here on what, like a 30-day, you know, it's hard. It's really hard for me to imagine that price just showed its linear ability. It advanced 32.5% in a 35-day range, and now it's consolidating in a tight, you know, let's call it 8% range for another 35 days. Like that is as indicative of continuation in price as it can get. You know, same thing with the volume here. That's exactly what I want to see. You know, I want to see a large increase in price. We had that 32.5%. I do really like to see the tight flag that this is forming here and the volume decreasing. I really think that's just as A+ as you can get for continuation. So overall, I mean, just from a execution standpoint, I entered on this candle with risk being a close back below the EMAs. Absolutely could take a entry on Monday with the same thing, you know, risk being a closure below EMA. So that's kind of my crude and XOM thesis. I mean, former market leader, kind of a sleeping giant. I mean, we're trading at levels that we've seen since 2008. I'm not going to call anything. I mean, obviously everything's to be seen, but like look at this weekly. You can even see it here on the weekly chart. Like these weekly candles are breakers for range breakers, right? You have to scale it lower to see it, you know, actually play out and, you know, look somewhat normal, I guess. But I mean, you can just see the volume since Ben. I mean, I'd love to be positioned past this April earnings. I think this is gonna, I, I'd expect earnings to be really bullish, just given where price is at. I usually anticipate earnings based on price, not based on anything else. And price is showing me that this is a quick base and break before we have a move higher here on XOM. This is not something that's that's not an exhaustive move. That's not any like massive thing that's or there's no like massive volume telling me that like this is the end of the move. There was no massive extensions away from the EMAs. Like we just consolidated for what, 4 weeks here in an 8% range after price just showed the ability to go 32.5% with really no resistance. I mean, this is as bullish as I can get, and I'm really, 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 really excited for this name, to be completely honest. So I think it also helps that there's like inflation fears with the market, and that the S&P is struggling right now. I don't think it's a growth-related struggle. I think it's more inflation. I think a lot of people, the I word is starting to, I've seen floating around here recently. So who knows? I mean, obviously, a lot of macro conditions, a lot of macro events, and who the hell knows what's going to happen going forward. I could be completely wrong on this, but as of right now, price is showing me the entry trigger, and I'm going to execute on it with accepting the unknown going forward.